Hello and welcome to the 2021 Restaurant and Bar Design Awards. I'm Harry McKinley, and after a week of riveting conversation with the industry's leading lights as part of the newly launched Restaurant and Bar Design Week, the time has come to hand out some trophies as we continue to celebrate the world's most creative spaces and the talent behind them. Now in its 13th year, the Restaurant and Bar Design Awards is acknowledged globally as the leading international competition dedicated to the design of food and beverage spaces. This year, we've had an astounding 844 entries from 69 countries, covering everything from Swiss Michelin-starred fine dining to fast casual. Because as the world of hospitality evolves, we aim to recognise the very best spaces in whatever form they take. As always, the projects have been judged by a panel of some of the most influential figures in design, hospitality, media, and lifestyle. But while some things have stayed the same, this year we've evolved how we're announcing the winners to better reflect the new, mobile, multi-connected world we live in. So not only am I coming to you in podcast-friendly, disembodied fashion, but unlike previous years, all of our individual category winners were announced earlier on Instagram. Head to Restaurant and Bar Design Awards to see the shortlisted spaces and the winners, although I'll be recapping the victors shortly. That means that today I'll be announcing the regional winners and the overall global winners. The best overall restaurant and bars for each region, pulled from the category winners announced earlier, and the top two global projects from the lot, best overall bar and best overall restaurant. A reminder once again that this award show comes hot on the heels of Restaurant and Bar Design Week, our video and podcast series, and you can find more information on those talks on the website at restaurantandbardesignawards.com. This event, however, is being broadcast in real time, so fire up your Instagram accounts and get involved. We want to see your reactions, and we'll be sharing the best on our own account throughout the presentations. Before we kick off then, I'd like to thank all of our partners for this year's awards: Hillcross Furniture, Atkinson & Kirby, PARKSIDE, Parla, and Visionaire. And with that, let's begin. In this first section, we announce the regional winning restaurant and bar for Asia. These winners were selected from the Asia individual category winners announced earlier on Instagram. And to recap, those category winners were Alfresco and Biophilic Design, Ginger, Singapore, Emma Maxwell Design. Cafe, Vista, Vuju China, Carve One. Hotel, More 7 Bar, Xi'an China, Republican Metropolis Architecture. In another space, Dab Pa, Hong Kong China, by Minus Workshop. Lighting, Aged and Butchered, Jakarta, Indonesia, by DSN Intervention Indonesia. Luxury, Peacock Alley, Xiamen China, AB Concept. Multiple, Daya Li, Chengdu China, Inex. Standalone, The Nine, Shanghai China, GID. Surface Interiors, Kidwin Share Plus, Chengdu China, Panorama Design Group. Visual Identity, Mother Pearl, Hong Kong China, A Work of Substance. And now, it's time to announce the winner of the overall Asia restaurant selected from those terrific category winners. The winner of Best Asia Restaurant is Peacock Alley, Xiamen China, AB Concept. Every Waldorf Astoria hotel has a Peacock Alley, so called because this was the first grand space between the original Waldorf and Astoria hotels, where New York high society famously strutted. A place to see and be seen. Today, Peacock Alleys are still invariably glamorous settings, but for designers, there is a challenge. When every Waldorf Astoria has one, how to create a peacock that dazzles above the rest? For AB Concept, this meant drawing upon Xiamen's romantic history as an international port city, a former centre of China's tea trade that still features an abundance of ornate Victorian-era colonial architecture, albeit now mixed with bold contemporary constructions. Inside, then, the studio tells a story of this European-influenced tradition. It is an exaggerated homage to a golden age of travel and commerce, with a dramatic stucco ceiling, parquet floors, and oodles of onyx and marble. But it's also no pastiche. In its persuasive use of architectural forms, subtle colour palette, and playful notes, it embodies a deeply modern opulence. It may be over a century since the first Peacock Alley, but in Xiamen, AB concepts prove it's possible to create something just as iconic today. And now it's time to announce the winner of the overall Asia bar selected from our individual category winners. The winner of overall Asia bar is More 7 Bar, Xi'an, China, Republican Metropolis Architecture. Xi'an is one of China's ancient cultural capitals, once the endpoint of the Silk Road and home to towering dynasties. Like so many of the nation's historic cities, it now straddles two worlds, possessed of both the cultural riches of old and the material riches of modernity. A growing centre for luxury with an increasingly affluent population and a reportedly booming economy. More 7 Bar, then, at the luxury Lino Hotel, is perhaps a tale of this dynamic tension. Designed by Republican Metropolis Architecture, on the surface it appears audaciously contemporary, with gleaming copper brickwork, reflective ceilings, and daring architectural detailing. It is unflinchingly self-assured. Yet, examine the key design motifs more closely, and a more nuanced narrative appears. The soaring copper walls inside evoking the ancient city walls outside. The burnished, earthy tones intended to reference the colour of Xi'an's hallowed soil. And even the slightly disorienting combination of materials and shapes, seemingly inspired by the cacophonous, inharmonious Xi'an of old, when the streets were packed with Silk Road travellers and traders. It is a tale of two cities, a tale of two Chinas, but this year, our single best bar in Asia. Hillcross Furniture supplies high-quality contract furniture and bespoke banquet seating to their customers' specifications. Working in the UK and internationally on projects of all sizes, they have the knowledge and know-how to ensure your vision becomes a reality, whether in a hospitality workplace or other commercial environment. With a passionate team on hand to assist from concept to delivery and providing a first-class service where the customer comes first. It's time now to switch continents and turn our attention to Europe as we announce the regional winning restaurant and regional winning bar selected from our individual category winners already announced on Instagram. As a reminder, those winners were Alfresco and Biophilic Design, Ego, Kalamata Greece, Andreas Petropoulos, Café, Liberté, Bucharest, Romania, Corvan Christian Studio, Hotel, Muja, Budapest, Hungary, Richmond International. In another space, Lenya, Marbella, Spain, Astet Studio. Lighting, My Bio, St. Petersburg, Russia, DA Bureau. Luxury, Muse by Tom Akins, London, UK, Kerner Interiors. Multiple, Nomada Chiado, Lisbon, Portugal, Spacegram. Standalone, Maison François, London, UK, the Guild of St. Luc. Surface Interiors, Nina, Barcelona, Spain, Liat Eliav. Visual Identity, The Toast Office, Belfast, UK, Crown Creative, and Mark Todd Architects. A host of fantastic winners there, but there can be only one regional winning restaurant and one regional winning bar. And so, the winner of overall Europe restaurant is Lenya, Marbella, Spain, Astet Studio. We may think of Marbella as a land of glitz and ostentation, but this year's Europe restaurant winner connects with an altogether more primitive ideal. For steak restaurant Lenya, Astet Studio devised an elemental interior of stone, wood, and fire, arousing an image of prehistoric mankind that connects with the wider gastronomic experience, where great slabs of meat sizzle on charcoal grills and the scent of burning embers pervades the dining room. It isn't the first time the studio has worked with acclaimed chef Danny Garcia, but whereas the previous collaboration yielded a soothing, nautical-inspired venue in Malaga, at Lenya the design language is much more forceful and insistent, an abundance of organic forms underpinned by a deep autumnal colour palette and moody ambient lighting. This is still Marbella, of course, and so despite the primal influences, there's also a sense of polish, a design rich with detail, finished exquisitely, and with enough luxurious touches to remind diners that Legna is much more than the average steakhouse. We move now to the winner of overall Europe Bar, and the winner is Muja, Budapest, Hungary, Richmond International. Budapest's Four Seasons Gresham Palace has long been considered one of the world's greatest and most lavish hotels. So when the time came to revamp the lobby bar, it was clear that no simple cocktail joint would do. An iconic, memorable and timeless design was required, something Richmond International delivered with Muja. Inspired by Budapest's magnificent Art Nouveau tradition and the history of the 1906 building that the hotel calls home, the studio introduced layer upon layer of classic references, from the boldly patterned furnishings to the period-inspired mirrored bar. They also entirely reoriented the space, creating spatial pockets that function in different ways. The open lobby a place to delight in the splendour of the architecture, a lounge providing a more sedate space to retreat to, and an almost entirely private nook for intimate wine tastings. Richmond also made much of a separate off-street entrance to the bar, creating the sense of a destinational cocktail spot within an already destinational hotel. Parkside is one of the UK's leading tile suppliers. With more than 1,500 tiles in its collection, the company offers a choice for every kind of space, whether that's a hotel, restaurant or bar like those featured in these awards, a school or even high-end residential. The company is quickly carving a reputation for its approach to sustainability, carrying ranges like the biodegradable Createra, made entirely from natural materials, and Sequel, made from 98% recycled materials. Time now to turn our attention to the Americas as we unveil the overall regional winners for restaurant and bar. But first, a recap of the category winners announced earlier on Instagram. Alfresco and Biophilic Design. ABBA, Austin, USA, designed in-house and with Variant Collaborative. Cafe, Stereoscope, Newport Beach, USA, Wick Architecture and Design, and Land Design Studio. Hotel, Cafe Riggs, Washington, D.C., USA by Jacques Strauss. In Another Space, Peak, New York, USA, Rockwell Group and Anthony Merquiche Architect. Lighting, H Street, Brickell, Miami, USA, Big Time Design Studios. Luxury, U Seafood, Toronto, Canada, Dialogue 38. Multiple, Minami, Toronto, Canada, Design Agency. Standalone, Austin, Buenos Aires, Argentina, Hitzig Militelio Arquitectos. Surface Interiors, Ilios, Cancun, Mexico, Filipao Nunes Arquitectos. Visual Identity, Double Dealer, New Orleans, USA, The Maid Shop, and Faruqi. All sensational projects there in their own right, but the winner of overall Regional Americas Restaurant is Minami, Toronto, Canada, Design Agency. Set in Toronto's heaving entertainment district, Minami is a Japanese-inspired restaurant that, in its design, captures some of the energy and urgency of its surrounds. With an interior intended to transition seamlessly from day to night, it clearly looks to the east but isn't slavish in its devotion to the tropes of Japanese design. Instead, there are a few dramatic aesthetic beats. Murals of enormous koi skirting the walls and gossamer red and orange drapery, but otherwise it's a tale of thoughtful simplicity where the sushi and cocktails take center stage. And while Minami is very much a restaurant, it's a restaurant where the drinks more than the bites are intended to shine. And that's evidenced in the attention lavished on the glass gantry bar and the custom-designed orb lighting that hovers above tables. This isn't a space intended for quiet, intimate nights, but instead a lively hangout that evokes the spirit of Japan at its most electric. Time now to move on to Best America's Bar. And the winner is H Street, Brickell, Miami, USA, Big Time Design Studios. Here a bar described as a speakeasy and you may shudder. It's a form that's arguably been overdone, and yet, at H Street Brickell, Big Time Design Studios has proved it is possible to breathe new life into the concept. On the project, the studio says, you can't be everything to everyone, but you can be everything to someone. And, throughout, there's a clear sense that this is a space intended to be personable, comfortable, and accessible. This is designed to put people at ease, with plenty of warm wood and button-tuft upholstery. But that's not to say there's no interest or innovation here, far from it. A dramatic sculptural ceiling draws the eye upwards, its undulating shapes reflected in the glass back bar and creating an air of gravitas and scale, expanding the space into some indefinable beyond. Big Time Design Studios' intention was to create a bar that nodded to boutique hotels, where locals and tourists rub shoulders in an intimate setting, and it's something that they've achieved, even without the bedrooms above. The floor is the foundation and interior design is built upon. It sets the tone and mood for your space. Atkinson and Kirby understand this, providing a wide range of wood flooring styles so you have the options to create your desired aesthetic. Investing in trend forecasting, maintaining high quality and environmental standards, providing insight and inspiration has been at the heart of Atkinson and Kirby for over 100 years. We jump now to the Middle East and Africa, always a fantastically creative region. And before I announce the overall restaurant and bar winners for this region, let's run through the category winners announced earlier on Instagram. Café, Dough, Kuwait City, Kuwait, by Lines. Hotel, L'Italien par Jean-Georges, Marrakech, Morocco, Juan Manku. In another space, Mazgouf, Farwania, Kuwait, by Lines. Luxury, Clay, Aglia, Bahrain, Tristan Plessis Studio. Multiple and More by Sheraton, Tel Aviv, Israel, HBA. Standalone, Linothèque, Marrakech, Morocco, Juan Manku. Surface Interiors, Nomad, Manama, Bahrain, Arc4 Lab of Architecture. Visual Identity, Chunk Social, Riyadh, Saudi Arabia, Lot Studio and H2R Design. Now, let's find out which of those projects is the top restaurant for the region. The winner of Middle East and Africa restaurant is L'Italien par Jean-Georges, Marrakech, Morocco by Juan Manku. What does it mean to reimagine an emblem of Marrakech? That was the question design studio Juan Manku faced when tasked with renovating Le Mamounia, perhaps the city's most famed hotel, a Mediterranean palace built in 1922. What Patrick Juan and Sanjeet Manku realised was that there was no point simply playing around the edges, making tweaks here and there. They had an opportunity and a responsibility to realise something truly fresh, and at the hotel's Jean-Georges von Gerichten overseen trattoria, that's just what they did. L'Italien par Jean-Georges is a soothing contemporary space, a winter garden with an olive green palette and terracotta details, framed by white warm timber and brass accents. There's a frieze by French artist Cédric Pelletier featuring untamed cacti and billowing palms. To use a cliché, it is perhaps the hotel's oasis. A gentle, verdant escape, a place where the forcefulness and drama of Marrakech cedes to ambiently lit tranquility. This is a luxury design of a terribly modern kind, rich with detail and intention, but also comfortable, unpretentious, and joyful. Time now to find out which of our category winners is the top Middle East and Africa bar as chosen by our judges. And the winner is And More by Sheraton, Tel Aviv, Israel, HBA. It's hard not to love Tel Aviv, a city often nicknamed the Miami of the Middle East, thanks to its buoyant nightlife scene and beachy culture. It's little surprise then that our top regional bar this year comes from the city, which in recent years has seen an almost unparalleled surge of development, as tourists flock to its streets and hospitality owners and operators scramble to get a slice of the action. The Sheraton Hotel, however, has long been a fixture of Tel Aviv's coastal skyline, even if its bar And More, created by HBA, is an entirely new proposition. Away from the pandemonium and maktot sounds of the sands, it is a clean, structured, highly curated space, a counterpoint to the balagan or chaos for which Israeli culture is sometimes affectionately known. But certainly in its colour palette it speaks to Tel Aviv, the bright whites evoking the many Bauhaus buildings that form the city's inner core, just as the patterned rugs and striated stone bring to mind the complex lines of the urban sprawl meeting the Mediterranean when viewed from above. This is a Tel Aviv of tomorrow, realised today. A polished, orderly vision of a city that really knows how to do bars well. Parla specialises in the manufacture of bespoke, loose and fixed furniture, case goods and joinery for 4- and 5-star hotels and fine dining restaurants. It also offers a unique furniture collection developed in collaboration with a variety of international designers. With its factory based in Istanbul, Parla has a presence in London, Dubai, New York and Miami. And now we head down under to the Australia and Pacific region to award the best restaurant and bar from the magnificent category winners announced earlier on Instagram. Let's run over those category winners again. Cafe. The Budapest Cafe, Carlton, Australia, Beasol. Hotel. Woodcut, Sydney, Australia, Loop Creative. In Another Space. Ping Pong, Brisbane, Australia, Durlot Group. Multiple. Nick and Nora's, Melbourne, Australia, Studio Y. Standalone. Chancery Lane, Melbourne, Australia, Bergman & Co. Surface Interiors, 400 Grady, Brunswick, Australia, Dean Dyson Architects. Visual Identity, The Laneway, Piedmont, Sydney, Australia, by Studio Carbon. Now then, we'll announce the overall Australia and Pacific restaurant winner. The winner is the Budapest Cafe, Carlton, Australia, by Beasol. Australia through the lens of Wes Anderson. That was Beasol's design concept for the Budapest Cafe in Carlton, a suburb of Melbourne. The most immediately striking component must be the incredibly consistent and thoughtful use of colour. The dusty pinks, terracotta and soft greys, all terribly grand Budapest Hotel. Then there's the sensitive and playful use of architectural shapes and lines. On the one hand, restrained, even spare, and on the other, whimsical and eccentric with optical illusion steps, sweeping arches, and a bar of cylindrical clusters. There's a level of meticulousness here that isn't often found. Utter commitment to a visual statement that is as pure as they come. Beasol's founders wanted to create something that felt at the intersection of art and architecture, and there's no doubt they've achieved that. The Budapest Cafe feeling as much like a gallery, perhaps, as a place to eat and drink. What better testament is there to design when it's not just background dressing, but something to marvel at, to experience? And with that, the time has come to announce the winner for overall Australia and Pacific bar. And the regional winner is Nick and Nora's, Melbourne, Australia, Studio Y. Unusually, the brief given to Studio Y for this project was a film, W.S. Van Dyke's 1934 classic, The Thin Man. But how does that translate into a bar, you may ask? Well, Nick and Nora's is film noir writ large, an ode to a moodier period, but also catapulted into our times. Velvet upholstery and walnut timber panelling combine to create a space fit for trench-coat-clad, cigar-toting detectives. As the designers say, a venue that is both mystifying and seductive. What's particularly clever here, though, is how Art Deco works in service to newness. The references are clear, but the design isn't intended to transport imbibers to the past. Instead, we're invited to imagine what film noir would look like if that world were brought to life today. It's all an elaborate and deeply satisfying fantasy where, over a cocktail, one can become the protagonist in their own detective story. Well, that is all of our regional winners in a perfect demonstration that even in these challenging times, creativity has not only continued, it has thrived. But with that, we come now to the biggest awards of this presentation. Overall restaurant and overall bar, these are our two global winners. The projects our judges felt exemplified the very best in restaurant and bar design this year. The competition was fierce, as you can imagine, and a reminder that we had 844 entries from 69 countries, and now it all comes down to these two. I'll be announcing the winners in just a moment. Our overall winners partner, Visionaire, founded by mother company IPE, is a meta-luxury brand of reference in the sector of interior design. Made in Italy, renowned for its one-of-a-kind design prowess, and tailored to respond to the desires of its clients. Since 2004, it's formulated a distinctive style based on lively experimentation with materials, volume, and inimitable motifs that reveal the Italian background of the company. Thanks to collaboration with a team of eclectic, visionary designers, the company is an ideal partner for bespoke proposals in residential and contract applications, as well as luxury hotels and the yachting and aviation sectors. Following the same format you have now come to know, our global winners have been selected from our regional winners. The time has come then to announce our global restaurant winner, our top prize for restaurants, recognizing a project that our judges felt was the global pinnacle of restaurant design from this year's regional winners. Before I announce which project that is, a reminder of our regional restaurant winners. For Asia, Peacock Alley, Xiamen, China, AB Concept. For Europe, Lenia, Marbella, Spain, Aztec Studio. For the Americas, Minami, Toronto, Canada, Design Agency. For the Middle East and Africa, L'Italien par Jean-Georges, Marrakesh, Morocco, Joan Mancu. And for Australia and the Pacific region, the Budapest Cafe, Carlton, Australia, Biasol. And the winner of overall restaurant is Lenia, Marbella, Spain, Aztec Studio. A massive congratulations to Aztec Studio and the team behind Lenia for winning this year's top restaurant prize, a global win as overall restaurant. Why Lenia? Well, one of our judges credited the mesmerizing architectural approach, saying that the geometry and materials kept her eyes moving the entire time she was observing the space. And of course, it stands to reason that Lenia would be a feast for the eyes when this venue is all about feasting in its most primal sense. Describing the restaurants, the designers said, "By turning back to earth its raw textures and contrasts, Lenia tells an extraordinary story of the art of food preparation. The main objective was to treasure the essence of the primitive, of fire, of embers, and of primary materials such as stone and wood, which are also the basis for the gastronomy on offer." Aztec Studio is based in Barcelona and places an emphasis on authenticity, human value, and the interplay between simplicity and complexity. Last year, the studio made the Restaurant and Bar Design Awards shortlist with Lobito de Mar in Malaga, but this year it's walking away with our top restaurant prize. It's a remarkable achievement for a studio founded only in late 2018. But for our esteemed judges, Lenia was the very best of the best from this year's restaurant entries. So before I announce the winner of overall bar, let me recap our regional bar winners. For Asia, More 7 Bar, Xi'an, China, Republican Metropolis Architecture. For Europe, Muja, Budapest, Hungary, Richmond International. For the Americas, H Street Brickell, Miami, USA, Big Time Design Studios. For Middle East and Africa, and more by Sheraton, Tel Aviv, Israel, HBA. And for Australia and Pacific, Nick and Nora's, Melbourne, Australia, Studio Y. But I won't keep you hanging on any longer, and so it is time to announce the global bar winner. The winner of overall bar is More 7 Bar, Xi'an, China, Republican Metropolis Architecture. Firstly, a huge congratulations. So, what made this project stand out from such a vast pool of creative and innovative bar projects? One of our judges explained that this project brought them into another dimension and described it as extremely experiential. We also heard how the colours, setup and furniture make it almost like an interactive installation. Speaking about the project, designers Republican Metropolis Architecture explained, The design is disassembled and reorganized in the method and materials. By innovating through materials, old elements are endowed with a new language. In different spaces, various experiences are achieved by creating a contrast between the old and new, and by relying on halos on the surface of materials, a cascading, transformative, and psychedelic effect is created. Founded in 2013, Republican Metropolis Architecture, or RMA, has become one of China's most pioneering and progressive design studios, imbuing each of its projects with a keen architectural sensibility and a firm understanding of how to balance storytelling and tradition with creativity and a forward-looking attitude. This is the second time that RMA has been recognised at the Restaurant and Bar Design Awards, winning in the Asia Ceiling category in 2019. But in clinching our top bar prize for this year, it has demonstrated itself to be a design force with a fresh, original perspective and, less than a decade old, a very bright future. And that is it! A wrap on the 2021 Restaurant and Bar Design Awards. Again, congratulations to all of our category winners, our regional winners, and of course, our overall winners. We've done things a little bit differently this year, and circumstances depending, we may be presenting the awards a little bit differently next year as well, but one thing is certain, we will be back, showcasing the world's most creative spaces. Restaurants and bars that challenge, inspire, and innovate, just as this year's entries did. I'd like to thank all of those who entered this year and, of course, our judges. I'd also like to thank our partners for this year's awards, without whom it wouldn't have been possible. If you want to explore the stories behind the projects, gain insight from the creatives that make them happen, or just listen in on some lively debate, do visit the website to catch up on the talks from Restaurant and Bar Design Week. I've been Harry McKinley, this has been the 2021 Restaurant and Bar Design Awards, and I'll see you next year.